Now we have the panel discussion on moving PSUs to cloud. How is it transforming the digital infrastructure? And for this, it's my pleasure to call on the panelists on stage. A round of applause for Mr. Subhash Chand, CISO, ICAR, Indian Agriculture Statistics Research Institute. Mousumi Deka, Chief General Manager, ERP, Oil India. Salman, Mahmmood, Deputy General Manager, General Food Corporation of India, FCI. Alok Shankar Pandey, Additional General Manager, IT and CISO, Dedicated Freight Corridor Corporation. In the meanwhile, let's start with our panelists, and I'll put the first sort of inaugural question to each of the panelists. And I will start with Subhash Chand. In terms of the cloud adoption journey, what were the milestones in the cloud adoption journey, particularly from a PSU perspective, and what are the key challenges that PSU organizations face there?
I think in PSU, there are some kind of difference between PSU challenges and general organization and their transformation. The basic objective of transformation in PSUs, and which is the legacy system which are using nowadays, and second thing is the adoption of manpower or the people they are working with that. The basic thing is that the adoption of cloud and transformation in PSUs, there are different kind of challenges are there. The first thing is that we have to understand what type of the transformation or the technology or our workload we are able to transfer on cloud, because there are a lot of challenges are there. We cannot generally think about in a one shift that this is the workload and we can go on the cloud. We have to understand the things because it is very, you can say, critical. So you cannot transfer every load on cloud. The first thing is that we have to prioritize our need and what are the sector or what are the department within the organization we are able to deliver there. And the second thing is that the compliance and the regulations are there. And because there are different kind of regulations are there, we have to maintain. And I think PSU are the backbone of the nation. So before going to cloud, so there are a lot of compliance and other regulations are there.
Okay, so you're primarily focused on the regulatory compliances, obviously. That's a key thing which a PSU or a government organization has to keep in mind. Alok Shankar Pandey, I'll come to you next with the same question. From your organization perspective or from the overall experience of PSUs, what are the key milestones in that adoption journey and the concurrent challenges that you face?
Thank you, Rajneesh, for the wonderful question. And before I answer your question, a disclaimer. Views expressed are personal, do not reflect in any way in the organization that I serve today or have served earlier in the past. Cloud has been there for quite some time, at least for the private industry to be adopted, people are adopting in the normal. When we talk of organizational adoption of cloud, let's see what are the drivers that are propelling us towards cloud. So you're talking of scalability, availability. One more buzzword that is being pushed towards cloud adoption is cost efficiency. Scalability and availability, yes, they do affect our decision making. Cost efficiency is something which is not yet been established. And it's not yet been established primarily because if I'm looking at cloud, I'm not looking at VMs. I'm looking at the full stack. I'm looking at from the infrastructure to the software as a service, I'm looking at the full stack if I'm doing any kind of meaningful adoption of the cloud. If I'm only looking at infrastructure, there are not many players. And they do not add much value, neither do they make it cost efficient. So if I'm looking at the full stack, I have 4 or 5 players in the market. You have the GCPs, you have the AWS, and you have the Azures and the Oracles over there. Partly the industry has to be blamed for lack of adoption because when they want to actually garner market share, they go in for heavy discounting. Government is used to certainties. If you bring in uncertainties, first year costing is 5 rupees and next year costing is 25 rupees, it becomes a challenge. So deep discounting has been something which has been a challenge for government to adopt clouds. Another challenge which has been which is again related to our own mindset, government's mindset is certainty, is that certain functions, certain features of the cloud, when I'm talking of SaaS, if it's of some kind of utility to me, have certain correlated features which by default get activated as a service in cloud. They add to the costs. So the expectation of cost with which I went to the cloud at times does not match with the actual payout that I'm making. So that becomes the biggest challenge. With respect to management of data, what data to be placed on cloud, what data to be placed on premise is also a challenge because then I'm maintaining 2 infrastructure. If I have to maintain certain data by virtue of regulatory or compliance issues, I have to have a data center of my own. But that is a call which every PSU has to take. The balance which the public-facing infrastructure can easily be pushed to cloud, but certainty is a challenge.
Okay. So we will delve deeper into this, the cost-beneficial analysis, and especially with PSUs, be it not just PSUs, even private organizations will look at the ROI. But definitely for PSUs, there is a greater accountability question which comes into picture. So the cost-beneficial analysis, and we will delve slightly deeper into this. Mousumi, I'll come to you next with the same question. In the cloud adoption journey, the key milestones for PSUs and the challenges faced thereof.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizer of APAC for inviting me to speak a few words in front of this August gathering. Coming to your question, the milestone. I'm from an organization which is a very old, it's a legacy-based company, Oil India Limited. And its main business is to explore and production of hydrocarbon and transportation. Now we are in the renewable also, as well as refining. But speaking to the legacy, the first data center we have established in the year 1983. It's a big computer, that is the mainframe. Because in the exploration business, there are a lot of geoscientific complex calculations are there. So the digital technology evolved in that area in the very beginning. So afterwards, as per the need of our operational activities, we implemented many software applications, and accordingly we procured servers, IT equipment, build our own data centers. We are having our data centers for geoscientific softwares, for ERP, data center as well as register site also. Then in 2019, we embarked upon the journey of digital transformation. We engaged consultant for that to prepare our roadmap. And that time, we have embarked upon this cloud computing platform. Few of the digital initiatives were implemented in AWS or Microsoft Azure. And we have seen that when we talk about the benefit of cloud, we really receive, that is the availability, scalability, flexibility, ease of maintenance. Those are the things which really helped us. In PSU, actually, if we want some servers to be procured now, we cannot do that because our procurement process is we have to follow the rules and regulations that way. But we find that in cloud journey, availability is easy. We get the servers or IT equipment whenever we asked for. So that is an advantage for us. So now we are in a big jump for our ERP applications. So we implemented in 2005 ERP SAP system with ISO as we are in upstream oil and gas industry. And now our journey to S/4HANA is happening in the cloud, that is datarized with SAP. So it is under process. It is a big jump for us to the cloud environment. Challenges are there. First, the mindset of the people, because we know that our data, these are, we can categorize as the core as well as the non-core data, because your scientific application data, drilling data, production data, and operational data from SCADA, and the business data from ERP. Those we can categorize. So challenges are there, which data to be migrated to the cloud. But our timing for data center maintenance match with our ERP upgradation. So that way it was, the decision taken was easy that we'll go ahead with that cloud journey, rise with SAP. So it is under implementation. So it will be, expected date of completion is next year. So another challenge, we can say that the integration, while going ahead with this SAP implementation, we have seen that a lot of integration are happening over the different cloud providers. So we are in the process, let's see how it happens.
Okay. One important aspect that you touched upon is the categorization of data, and by nature, and then which of those data emanating from which applications, and which of those applications would you migrate towards cloud. Great. We will touch upon that conundrum a little more deeply later. Now I'll come to you, Salman, again with the same question, the milestones in the cloud journey for your organization and the main challenges that you faced.
Very good afternoon, all of you. Well, I belong to a non-IT background, so I will have a more general view of the subject. Well, Food Corporation of India basically is operating on one of the largest food grain supply chain management system. We are a part of a larger ecosystem which procures food grain from the farmers and get it distributed to around 81 crore beneficiaries of PDS every month. So that's involved a complex web of operations from procurement, storage, distribution, and all. So technology in a way has really helped us to be more efficient and also has taken care of accountability and the transparency part. Now, cloud becomes a very crucial part of that technology because digitization started FCI off late only. During the COVID times, we heavily digitize our applications, and we are mostly based ourselves on NIC clouds. But however, we are also diversifying to other public clouds also for certain application of ours. One background which I want to just say here is that we are sitting on abundance of data right now, and most of this data is unstructured. So if we don't wisely and efficiently use this data, it will be of no use. So we need to classify and segregate this data, and we have to decide what data we have to take on the cloud, and then we can take an effective decisions accordingly. Now, cloud have posed little challenges, but I think PSUs have to navigate these challenges because the benefit of moving to cloud, adoption to cloud is enormous. I think no PSUs can have that sort of capacity because we are also responsible to government to create that sort of data centers which can handle that sort of data and have that massive, computing power. So going to cloud is not a choice these days. We have to go to cloud. But certain challenges which we see is, yes, more like an apprehensions we have about the security. Because data security and privacy is one of the critical part, because being a PSU, you handle a lot of sensitive data as being an extended arm of government. So you have to make sure that all the compliances which are done by this cloud service provider, then you are also worried about the residency of the data. Data should be there in the country only. There should be no vendor lock-in, so that you could switch to other vendors also easily. As other panelists also put up, like integration of data, migrating from the legacy system to the cloud providers. So that basically poses a little challenge, but I think there are ample solutions. Technology has taken way ahead. So these things could be catered very easily, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. So you have sort of reiterated what the earlier panelist also talked about, the categorization of data and accordingly migrate towards cloud, and that's very important. And the other important aspect which we will talk about a little more in detail is about if I may say, use the word, the ownership and sovereignty of that data. And especially when public sector organizations have a lot of sensitive data, we are talking about, that becomes very critical. Okay, so we have heard from each of the panelists, and I'll come back again to Subhash. Now, what we have heard from all the panelists, including yourself, talks about some of the scenarios which are evident across all enterprises, be it private ones or even PSUs now. Cloud deployment is not now just simple like you are working with one solution provider. It's not like that. A typical scenario would be an organization working with multiple clouds. There will be certain applications on the public cloud providers. Alok mentioned the likes of AWS, GCP, or Microsoft, or whoever. Then there will be a lot of applications on some of the private clouds, maybe. Some applications can reside in the in-house data center, some on the third-party data centers. You will have the connectors, the likes of Nutanix, and those will, then you will have maybe certain applications on the edge also. So it's and then there will be maybe even private clouds from multiple service providers. So this entire management is a challenge. How are PSUs looking into that?
I think it is rightly questioned. The issue we have to understand, we have to come about this technology and all these things. And firstly, we think about any organization, what is the business objective and what kind of operation they are offering. First thing is that. After that, anything, it may be cost management and whatever it may be. Because if we talk about the how do we manage, how do we operate these things, these are the facility to the manpower of that organization, but that is not the basic objective in any organization. The basic objective any organization and government agency and PSUs is to deliver their services, whether it is citizen to B2B and their client. So this is the basic objective. And that objective requires the availability and the performance and the time. We are able to deliver our services. Okay. So if the concept is that we have to deliver the services in a efficient way and in a efficient manner, then there may be multiple category or approach may be there. It is not only technology oriented. It may be workforce also. And one thing I want to also submit here, we should consider the technology for the people, not the people for the technology. There is some difference is there. So we are nowadays talking about totally. So we are lacking the people. We should understand the people is the sensor and the delivery person. So this is the basic concept. Now I come to the how we do manage. It is obviously nobody, I think, denied that technology is the enabler for human and any organization. It is true. But there is a consideration the organization have to think how do we deliver our segmentation means it is not a one mandate of any organization. There may be different. It is the critical, it is moderate, and it may be lower than that. So thing is that the critical area, it is I think every organization is thinking about the reliability and availability. If we just move backward, in the delivery services, we talk about the availability, redundancy. When we deliver in the legacy mode, so there may be a provision, we make the provision that every services should be deliver or available there. And then we made our own data center. Then own data center and devices are there. So we implement multiple devices and make the availability and put all on the SLAs or whatever it may be. Okay. Now we are moving beyond data center to you can say CSP or multiple or one is there. It may be MIT approved, it may be a government, it may be private. Okay. But I think any organization need only, if I am going to any cloud services, how they are enabling or ensuring or they are a partner to me to make my service available anytime. It should not be there if I go, I transfer my load on a CSP, and the time when that CSP has failed, and it may be any reason. So it should not impact my delivery.
True.
So that's why I think every organization, they are just more about that. If we are delivering the services in earlier way in the legacy, and there was some challenges, and same challenges if after paying the resources on there, if we are getting same taste, then it should not be. So I
Exactly.
think this is the...
Okay, so very critically and rightly said that it should not be just hiring a CSP or any other solution provider just for hiring sake. The solution provider should provide the benefit when the organization needs it, and which further helps in the productivity and growth of the organization. Talking about the solution provider, Alok, I'll come to, you touched upon this earlier, the critical point. Now these third-party solution providers, and we talked about multiple. There are different kinds of CSPs. Then there are the connectors and other third-party solution providers. Yes, the process after GEM has been streamlined to an extent, the procurement part. But having said that, is it just SLAs that can bind these third-party solution providers, or when you are doing the cost-benefit analysis you talked about earlier, and their costs, as you mentioned, fluctuate over the years. So how, from a PSU perspective, you justify the relationship so that the proper ROI is obtained and meeting all the norms and regulations at the same time? How do you manage these third-party solution providers?
Thank you, Rajnish. Very pertinent. GEM has not made life easy towards that. I can assure you that. Because every time you need to host a new service, you go to GEM, and every time you'll get a new CSP as a partner. So directly or indirectly is pushing you towards a multi-cloud environment. And when you're dealing with a multi-cloud environment, the multi-cloud environment comes with its own set of challenges, especially with respect to data portability, etc. Fortunately, applications are, at least in the PSU are still monolith,
Okay.
MVC architecture. So by and large, an application is mapped to a hosting infrastructure. So dependency, the minute you move to microservices, you still can have one application on one platform talking to another application on another platform with a compute, etc. Everything is distributed.
But won't that won't that change in a more consumer-facing kind of PSU? Isn't the dynamics changing? Yeah, more the B2B kind of PSUs. Yes.
I would love to agree, but there's an old saying, don't tinker with something that works fine. So if it can be scaled using the infrastructure of the cloud, that same application, if it can be scaled, I might have something coming up in, say, few months' time, or a planned migration. But what is working fine, don't touch it. So, so that to that extent, at least the services are not affected. So imagine UID service down. You have, just because someone decides to bring up a new application which is microservice oriented. So that is something, consumer facing applications, you do not want to tinker much. So that said, again, since the applications are matched to a hosting infrastructure and with the ring fencing of MITRE approved cloud service provider only. So the complication is not that large. Even if I look at it, there are about 18 of them who are MITRE approved. Each one of them having, not all of them have 2 sites as on date, but have different availability zones. So you have about 36 maximum, that is what you can diversify. So, and any CSP, any PSU would preferably want to be with 1 or 2 CSP. What I personally have been propagating wherever I have spoken is the old rate contract method. So go get into do a tender on GEM or any public procurement platform. Get into a rate contract. Once you are in a rate contract, yes, the issue of vendor lock-in comes in, but then you are able to spin off your services in 15 minutes. You are ensuring that you are remaining away from the multi-cloud environment with its pros and cons, whichever way, but then you have only one partner. And that one partner with SLA, you can still ensure things being done. The next big challenge which comes up is, if that one partner was Azure 15 days back, you had Microsoft and CloudStrike full day outage. So such kind of incidents again do not help adoption of cloud. And finally, what I would touch is any kind of SLA, the point that you pointed out about SLA. SLAs don't help you survive. I have a public facing role and I have a SLA with you. If I'm not able to perform my public facing services, and I'm penalizing you for not enabling the infrastructure, it is my credential which is affected.
Exactly.
So financial penalties are never proportionate to the credentials that are affected. If you do not know the business yourself, how the CSP is working, you have to be an equal partner. Then and only then you can be able to manage. You can't jump into the sea or an ocean saying that the lifeguard will protect you without the vest or some protection mechanism, or not knowing swimming. So that is what. So you can't depend purely on SLS, that's for sure.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Mousumi, I'll come to you now. Again, what you said earlier, taking it further, you categorize the data and depending on the concurrent applications which should be migrated towards cloud. Now, from a PSU perspective, how do you ensure when there are a lot of these regulatory norms to be complied to, this data sovereignty or data ownership, what you are talking about, how do you manage that?
So it is whole cloud migration or adoption, it's a new for us. Although we have gone ahead from the 2020 onwards. So small little applications first we adopted in the cloud. And when we float the tender, we have given one clause that it should be MATI empaneled. And data center should be India. So those are the two clauses we always put. And the policy, that regulation, those are evolving. Those are not fixed. And accordingly, we to know and understand the rules and regulations, and looking at our vast different kind of data we are dealing with. We engage a consultant also to prepare the framework for this cloud adoption, because security, the data security is a big challenge for us. Although we know that we can rely on the cloud because they will give much more security than if we maintain in our data center. Because for us, to maintain a data security, we have to procure the firewalls, IT equipment, then manage our manpower also with the knowledge. So that will be difficult for us. So we have to rely on the cloud providers that way. And looking at the data ownership, see, as we have that geoscientific applications, those data centers are there, and those are very critical data for our operation. So, and those are very huge data. So we have taken a decision, although it is not firm, that we have to keep those data in our own data center. But say for some other applications, say operational activities or that business data, so those data for reporting to various ministries as well as DZH, we can adopt those things in cloud. So that way ERP has gone to the cloud. And say B2B applications, so we are having that B2B transaction with Numoliga refineries, ONGCL. So those are, we are doing that integration through one layer of our system, that is CPI, process orchestration. So that way we're going ahead and looking at the criticality of data. Say for ERP data also, we have many personalized HR information also. So that way we have taken the private edition of the cloud. We are not going ahead with the public cloud, so that data will be private for us. So that way we have taken the decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Salman, especially as you mentioned earlier, you are from a non-technical background, so perhaps more looking at a holistic picture. How do you determine which are applications are mission critical and which are not so core, if I may say, and how do you accordingly determine the migration roadmap towards cloud?
Just to add what the other fellow panelists said about the data sovereignty part, and then I will come to that question also. We are PSUs, we are dealing with government data, which is more like critical data. And that we make sure that when we enter contracts with these CSPs or SIs, we keep in mind that the data residency is there within the geographical boundaries of the country only. So that it should not go outside, because we have no operations outside, we are limited to India operations only. And that should be compliance with all the regulations what India has, because the legal landscape is evolving about the data protection in India. So these CSP have to comply with those things. And while coming to the data migration part, I think we don't have much of legacy system with us, because we recently started this journey of applications, standardization and all. So we don't face that challenge of moving the data from legacy system to the cloud. But however, we need to see that whatever service provider we choose, as already other people said, that has to be compliant with all the rules and regulations. They have to be my team paneled, audit compliant, and the scripted data should be kept into your cloud, so that maybe at rest or also in the transit, so that there's, in case of cyber attack, there's loss of data is minimal there. And data strategy, I will just say one thing, that PSUs have to be very careful while planning that migration strategy, because you know what sort of data you want to carry to that cloud. First, you have to define your objective, why you need a cloud system in your organization. what you want from it. Is the cost optimization, or basically you want to get scalability or performance or whatever. So once you define that objective, then you have to pick that data, and that quantum of data you want to put into the cloud. Then I think SLAs are very important in it. What sort of performances you need from that service provider has to be written in black and white with no further scope for comprehension on it. So it should be very strictly written, and these should be followed in spirit, because once you're going on a cloud, then a certain risk you are taking, but still with the technology evolving day by day, I think those risks have their own mitigations, and which we can look into it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Coming back, we are sort of getting a picture, but one important question that still leaves around, and Subhash, I'll come to you. What about the workforce with the relevant skill sets? The managing, that's another challenge. It's from a PSU perspective, yes, there will be people who will be more with the domain knowledge of the business of that organization. There will be people with administrative knowledge, and there will be, I'm assuming for most PSUs with technical skill sets, a limited number of people. But this multiple cloud environment we are talking about, and there will be, and every day, since it's an evolving area, the skill sets have to be evolved also. And typically, the manpower or workforce which are conversant with those skill sets generally don't end up in PSUs. There is a longer process of recruitment there. So, how do you manage this gap of having the relevant skilled workforce in PSUs?
Yes, skill set is the big challenge for any government and PSUs, because the basic issue is that there are the technology provider. They come their solution with technology and workforce and skill set, and we are the client, you can say, who adopt the technology. The gap is there. Any organization, they are just adopting the technology without their skill set. So there are some differences are there, because when we are going to transform any our system or any legacy system or any operation, what it may be, so we just buy the technology, and we are not able to put any such type of clauses, and that you have to deliver. Sorry, you have to enhance our skill set also within the organization. There are differences are there, because the people are working there. Any organization, they are their mandate were different when they were recruited. So after that, the technology came. They just try to involve their itself to get the knowledge what they can operate or they can manage. But yes, skill set is the major challenge, and which I think every organization try to gap these challenges to move on the cloud, because they have their own. So that one factor is favorable to move on the cloud. But I would like to say here one more thing. One thing is that the technology provider, it may be CSP also and other technology provider there. There is a gap between delivery of any technology and their checklist, whether it is implemented or configured as it must be. Because just you deliver their technology and forget it. The technology, they have their own competency. But where you have implemented, whether it is implemented at it should be, it must be, So nobody is asking, no, those service provider not able to understand and enrich their operation and configuration of any organization that you should do this type of you can say improvement, or there are the gap, and the technology you buy, you can take more work, or you can delivery from there. So this is the gap, because there should be checklist also. So yes, there is a challenge, and from there the management issue, how do we manage? So we put our own best effort and some kind of outsourcing in the people and the skill set for that domain. So this is the challenge and balancing organization is doing.
And moment that outsourcing is involved, that brings with it another challenge,
Yes,
because
yes.
managing that.
Great.
So that challenge, whenever the outsourcing part. Okay, yes, that's very pertinent. Alok, what you said again earlier. Yes, good that there is still a monolithic structure there. You can map an application to a particular server. Having said that, things are changing, and things are changing fast. Even PSUs have a lot of applications. Enterprise mobility is a large part. There are more and more applications, whether it's B2B or B2C kind of applications, they are moving on the mobile platform. So that monolithic architecture is gradually changing. So as that change happens, that pace of change, how are PSUs being able to cope with it? Another important thing, you will be able to tell from your organization perspective, no PSU organization works in isolation. It's an entire ecosystem. There are suppliers, system integrators, and who else, this whole ecosystem, and they will have their own architecture and structure. So everything has to be integrated in synchronization. How is that a challenge?
That is a challenge. How is that a challenge? That is a challenge. Whenever you have got multiple people and multiple infrastructure developed independently, that integration remains a challenge. And especially when, in my particular case, there are proprietary technologies also. IT per se integration was never a challenge, because open source did the standardization of interface, and open source did solved a lot of that problem. But whenever you have proprietary issues, there are challenges. Now, if I come back to the core question, which was changing nature of application landscape. The changing nature of an application landscape is what is also bringing questions on the cloud viability. And there are a lot of surveys moving around today even for the done through the private sector experience and the public sector experience, where people are looking at getting back to their own infrastructure rather than cloud infrastructure, because the ROI that I talked of initially at times is working out higher in the cloud infrastructure compared over a 7 to 10 year lifespan compared to owning that own infrastructure that you have. And one of the major factors which plays a role there is the word data sovereignty that we talked about. Data sovereignty is not about complying or having access to my data. That is just one part of it. If I have a vendor lock-in, the person says that, yes, you have access to your data provided you remain with me. The biggest challenge in cloud adoption and maintaining low cost is the data portability part of it. When you have to pay for every bit and byte that moves out from one cloud infrastructure to another cloud infrastructure, that is where the prices get bumped up. And I think it's high time, like government stepped in with mighty approved cloud service providers, there should be a policy intervention which says there will be zero cost data portability. So that brings more clarity to what is being moved in and out. Application ecosystem will be affected by this choice of whether I head towards microservice or whether I retain my MVC architecture. Because microservices is pushing cost. No particular technology is a panacea for all problems. Microservices, with its advantages, is pushing cost of services up. And especially wherever you have cost-sensitive environments, you have to be making a informed choice or trade-off between what you're choosing and where you're hosting. So that is the best that I can do to address that complicated question of yours.
Okay, going from one complicated question, Mousumi, my point here, you earlier mentioned, and from your organization perspective, geographically spread far and wide, a lot of remote areas also. So infrastructure, standardization of infrastructure often is an issue. And when we are talking about cloud, so many applications remote. So in terms of when we are talking in a complicated multi-cloud environment, what about the standardization of infrastructure? How is that happening?
It's again a complicated question for me because everything is new in cloud. So we have embarked upon the journey. Looking at our organization, it is really many difficult that forest area or remote areas are there where putting the infrastructure itself is a big challenge. Now we are going ahead with the cloud infrastructure where internet is the must. Some offices are there where internet is not possible. No ISP, GSP is not possible out there. So, but we have to enter the data there. So another new technology we are looking at, and we have got it also, that it's a portable kind of devices and where they can input the data going to the field where there is no connection. And however, they can input the data in a robust, explosive proof iPad kind of thing. And when they come back to the offices in the edge devices, when they get the connectivity that floats to the servers. So that way we are managing. And that connectivity, sometimes we put it in a VSET also, which is very slow. And video and all, it is not possible because sometimes it's a requirement for the PSUs also that CCTV footage is compulsory in some of the places where installations, critical installations are there. So those are different kind of challenges particular to maybe our organization because we are in upstream business. In upstream activity, we have to explore the finding of hydrocarbon in different locations, different geographic locations, including the forest area or the remote areas of Rajasthan that way. So connectivity is an issue which we are going to tackle this thing through different kind of solution. So even if we are having that data center where the fiber optic cables or the radios links are there, still it was a problem. So that way we try to mitigate those challenges through this kind of technology. Thank you.
In fact, Rajneesh, before you go, just I'll add one more thing. Standardization is not a problem, at least in the cloud infrastructure, because I am restricted by the SKU that the cloud service provider is offering. So one service provider has come up with per core kind of a model. Others always have this 4 and multiples of 4. So 4, if you're taking the number of core multiply by 4, that is the RAM that is available, and then the storage choice that you have. So infrastructure standardization is not a problem, at least in the hyperscalers environment.
Okay. Yes, that should be. Salman, more on the regulatory fronts. We touched upon the compliance and the regulations, and they also keep on evolving and changing over time. How as a PSU, because they are not known to be, I won't say IT savvy, but fast moving on the technology front so that they conform to those regulations. How is that being managed?
Well, that's really one of the challenge which is there. So that for to say that we're using a lot of NIC clouds. Most of our applications were on NIC cloud. So now we are diversifying to other public clouds also. Recently we started it, and we are seeing the benefits of that also. But yes, the regulatory part is very important. The compliances, which everybody already said that, compliant with the MAT, and then you have that ISO certification should be there. Data should be kept in the multi-layer security environment. There should be limited access point. So these things which need to be looked into, because every PSU will every day will have that concern about the security and regulatory issues. Because these data are really sensitive, although everything is open for public, but there are certain data which need to be kept in a confidential state, which is there shared between in the intra PSU environment only. And to say that, we are spread all over the country. We have around 2,000 depots across the country, far-flung areas, because we have to cater to our beneficiaries in Northeast, in Jammu and Kashmir, and everywhere. So we need to set up an environment where these data flow is seamless, and there is not much problem or hiccups during that process. So yes, I think it is very important. The compliant part is most important thing which the PSU will take care of, and it is in the contractual obligations is clearly written that these should be complied. And in the SLAs, you should always define these performance metrics which you need to regularly, periodically check that whether the CSPs are doing it or not on security front and everything, in order to keep your data safe and secure. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks. So now I'll come to each panelist and ask each of you to do a little bit of crystal ball gazing. As far as cloud infrastructure is concerned, that's there. It's already there. It's mainstream, and it's going to further evolve. What I want to look from your perspective, from your own organization perspective or an overall government organization perspective, how do you see the cloud roadmap? A little elaborately, if you can explain the architecture or model which you expect to be there over the next 18 to 24 months, if I may take that sort of time frame, starting with you.
I think it is the basic and challenging model there should be. Why we are hesitating to shift on the cloud? The thing is that if we talk about the cloud, we are selling the same bucket to all type of organization. There should be some different models which you can say customized type of model which meet the requirement of any organization for their own business objective. I would say here that nowadays in the technology advancement, we are very mature, whether it is individual, organization, enterprise, industry, IT, or legacy industries. We are very mature. But we must to understand and respect their business objective. Means any organization, their business objective is not for the comfort, not for the money. Money and finance you have to spend, whether it is legacy, your own, or outsource, or CSP, what it may be. And it is not about also the comfort, how the people working there, how they are comfort, and how the user, they are feeling comfort. The core issue, I think, it should be the availability of their business. Means any organization, if they are able to deliver their services and it should be available, then it makes sense. But it is not a cosmetic change that I have changed my legacy in the transformation in the digital and whatever it may be. So I would request and I would see in the future, there must be different kind of selling model for different kind of organization with respect to their business orientation. So it should not be same kind of we are selling the same product to all of you, and just like a mall, just choose the item and fit your own whether it is working or not for you. The second thing is that in future, if look ahead, so there should be some, you can say, kind of liability and partnership. Alok sir very well said. The core challenges for any organization, it is not just about the business to business contract. If you are going to be my partner, and it should be the liability sharing also. So it is not just about, it is very well said, SLA just kind of to ensure how much delivery you are servicing, but you are just delivering or repaying my money on what I had paid. So it is not a matter of that. So every stakeholder, they have to ensure that they are part of their business and liabilities. So I would say that some kind of policy and model, I look ahead, such kind of things.
Thanks. Alok.
It'll be short. I am an advocate of cloud adoption. And to give you why I'm an advocate of cloud adoption is that anyone, all those people who have managed data centers over here would have experienced in a year, at least more than 24 hours of downtime would have been normal because of some fiber cut, something would have happened. Imagine this 24 hours of downtime globally which happened in Microsoft and the kind of furor it caused. The consumers are becoming demanding. Your customers are becoming demanding. Your customers are becoming demanding, that means you have to have high availability. As of now, with DC's on-premise or on-premise cloud, private cloud, you are, as of now, most of us are not geared to provide that kind of availability. If I have to provide that kind of availability, and at times when the load scales, income tax returns on the 31st of July, the kind of scalability that is required is not possible to be horizontal, and vertical scaling is not possible if you have fixed infrastructure. So because of the availability and scalability requirements, I think cloud adoption is inevitable. Each organization has different objectives to serve, and accordingly they'll have to chart out a roadmap for themselves. And I for sure am moving towards the cloud in a rate contract kind of a mechanism, where I am partnering with a managed service provider, because obviously when organizations become leaner, you need people to support you in your technical expertise. One thing that I would advise anyone who is looking at the adoption of cloud journey is understand cloud yourself first. Many people, there are many lies in the market, many people telling clouds are secure. Sorry, cloud provides a basic level of security, perimeter security at best. Securing your own application, your own application infrastructure is your own baby. So if you have to do that, you need to understand the model that is being pitched in front of you, not just go in for cloud because everyone else is going in. Thank you.
Thank you. Mousumi.
Over the years, we have seen that in our organization, users from other departments are very smart. They are asking more and more from IT. So that is the thing, because of, we have seen the advantage of cloud that way, that availability of the applications which can be put in the cloud environment and will get it immediately. One is the mobile solution they want. So all the applications we can be hosted out there. So because of this availability, so our organization is going ahead with this cloud journey. So as you have asked it in the span of 18 months and all, so our journey will be cloud, that is for sure. And however, to choose the clouds, it's not in our hand because we have to go with the open tender to the vendor. But over the years, last 2-3 years, we have seen lot of service providers are there. So we have to restrict, otherwise it will be beyond our manageability. So that way we have to frame something that some certain MATI panel, although it is MATI panel, there are huge numbers. So how to go about, so that is another question for us. But obviously it should be MATI panel, but we want to restrict few of the numbers so that it will be minimized and manageable from our part. Thank you.
Thank you. Salman, you have the last word.
Well, I believe as a typical market functions, when there's a lot of sellers and a lot of buyers, and the equilibrium cost and service paradigm is set. So we will see in the future when the demand for cloud increases and a lot of providers are there in the market, then we will get a more win-win situation with the seller and the buyer having an equal share in the service and the cost. But I believe that it will be a little presumptuous on my part to predict how the cloud services will be there in the next 18 months or so. But I could say that I expect that it should be more customized services for the PSUs or for, in general, for everybody, and should cater to the needs what a typical PSU wants from a cloud. So there should be a lot of options for them to choose from, and more cost optimization we need to see, as it was highlighted earlier. So we need cost and better security and better scalability on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so with that, we come to an end of this panel discussion. And before we disperse, I would request Gopi Krishna Arora, the co-founder and director of APAC News Network, to hand over a small token of appreciation to our panelists. Alok Shankar Pandey. Mousumi Deka. Salman Mahmmood. Can I request all the panelists to